All right, little morning update today. Um, another not great night of sleep with this chemo, the cyclophosphamide. They want me to try to go to the bathroom every 2 hours, and that includes all through the night. So every even hour, I was up trying to, yeah, tough. I told you, before holding on to, and this medication can make you, hold on to water weight. And I've had a lot of fluids, and on my vitals check this morning, where we check my weight, I'm up 10 pounds in one day, and that's all water weight. So I have a feeling a little bit later today I'll be riding, I'll be given a diuretic, so I'll be up and peeing a lot more. But this is the not pretty side of things. No nausea yet, which is great. Breakfast just came, so I'm going to dig in and see what the day brings.
Here we are on TIL day -6. I'm going to keep screwing that up. And we are on the second day of chemo. I got here this morning and noticed the first thing, which was Lee had gained a significant amount of water weight in his face. And also, strangely, I noticed it in his forearms. He is not like a big guy by any means. I think he weighed like 162 pounds at check-in, roughly. He's not protesting back there, so I think I'm right. I also have my mask off as I'm turned away to just kind of, it's a little easier for me to talk with my glasses and everything. So they started him on Lasix, which is a diuretic. They put it in his IV and it helps him shed that water weight and be at a more healthy level. Just got interrupted yet again for someone who just wanted to check the printer from IT. This has been a very, very busy morning, in good ways and bad ways. I don't want it to sound like everything's just disrupting us and none of it's for a point. All of it has a point. But we have not been alone in this room since I got here at around 9:30. It is almost noon. This is the first time I am sitting to, like, I have a moment to say anything, a moment to be with him. His doctors from the hematology oncology team were here this morning. They were reviewing his PET scan that he had on admission day, and that scan is to establish a baseline of where his tumors are in his body. And it's been a while since his last scan. Probably a couple months. Of course, he did have a brain MRI more recently, and that did show a tumor. He also had a cranium lesion that he got radiation on in January. So, like, tracking all that. But as far as his body, there's still some activity in the mesenteric lymph nodes kind of around his GI tract. And those have been radiated. And he's been having ongoing side effects from that, which I don't even know what I was saying. Like, that is why it is so hard to get interrupted. Doctors reviewed his PET scan results with him, just to see like a baseline, what we're working with, what's still active, and that will give us a good idea later down the road of how the TILs are working. Other than that, he's just trying to relax and rest today, but it's pretty impossible with interruptions. Everyone doing their job, making sure that he's safe. I did get to see one of my friends from high school who is a surgical fellow here, so that was nice. She came by for a visit and brought me some ibuprofen for my ongoing headache that I think is from dental work I had like last week, but I honestly feel a little talked out today. Just a little bit spread thin. and that is to be expected. It's one thing to think, yeah, okay, like I live local, I'll be able to like drive in and out every day. But it does spread you thin trying to take care of things at home and also trying to be like incredibly present here. And then everything that goes on here constantly throughout the day. On the one hand, it feels like Lee has been gone out of the house for so long. But on the other hand, like the days themselves are like a blur. So that's kind of weird. I feel like I got here and now it's already noon and I haven't done a single thing except for be present when doctors are coming into the room or when nurses are coming into the room. So those are my thoughts at the moment. And I don't know how the rest of the day is going to go. Lee is feeling really tired and just kind of not himself, but he's not throwing up at this point. So other than the fluid retention, yeah, he's hanging in there. That is the mark of a good nurse. Lee got a little bit of a nap. You zonked out for like a good 45 there. The sleep hygiene is terrible in the hospital.
Yeah, it's awful.
You look a little bit better. You look a little bit less bloated than you did earlier.
Yeah, but should give an update for everybody that
I don't think your mic's on.
you know, getting some sleep makes a huge difference. But in an update on the fluid situation that I know no one asked for, I've now peed out a gallon in the last like 2-3 hours after getting some IV Lasix or the IV diuretic. So that's like half the weight that I gained over the last day. Last time, with the first TIL on trial, that I had this huge weight, big weight gain, water weight, and they gave me the dose at, had to have been 9, 10 o'clock at night. And so I was up every hour peeing all night long. It was awful. Never, ever, if you can avoid it, never, ever give a patient diuretics at night. Unless they have a catheter. Then I guess they don't have to get up. But I didn't have that. And I don't want one. If you've never had one, 0 out of 10, don't recommend. What's interesting about that is, as a pharmacist, that I learned a lesson that if I see orders come through late in a shift, into the evening for Lasix for a patient, I give it a closer look. If it's, I will assess even more than a normal order. Do we need this? Is this timed right? Is this going to be disruptive to the patient? Or if it's a situation that they have a catheter, okay, we'll let that ride. But I've corrected or messaged a couple doctors before, and you had the result of, oh yeah, we don't need that right now. We'll time that for the morning. So maybe somebody just got a little bit more sleep that night. I can hope. Moral of the story is, don't let your team order diuretics at nighttime unless it's absolutely necessary. For lunch, I think we're gonna go walk around, and I may be thinking the cafe on the 14th floor. They have a really killer barbecue chicken flatbread. Ordering meals, I can either through my chart on my phone, or they brought me a tablet, an iPad. It's just the hospital owns it, not me. And you can go and select based on what diet orders have been placed. You can select what you want, but generally very simple fare. But you have other options. if you didn't want to, place an order for the hospital food, you could ask, usually your nurse, to put in a meal voucher for you. So what that does is that gives you a slip of paper for that meal. It's worth $9, so it covers most meals in the hospital, give or take a little. But you can take that to anywhere in the hospital, except the Wendy's in the basement. I'm pretty sure you can't take it down there. But any of the hospital eateries, you could take that voucher, and it's as good as cash, and get yourself your whatever food you want.
Now that it is after 5 and it kind of feels like the end of the day, almost, we were feeling pretty bogged down with the interruptions earlier, and our nurse, who is fantastic, she knew we needed a little bit of peace, so she put a sign on our door and people stopped coming into it. So just like FYI, you shouldn't have to advocate for sleep, but you do when you're in a hospital. Otherwise, people just come into your room all the time. But sleep is really important. And when you're getting someone new in your room every 15 minutes, you can get absolutely no rest. You're so exhausted from talking to person after person after person. So just tell your nurse that you need the rest. Have them put a sign on your door. Do not be interrupted for things that don't need interrupting for. That said, with the drugs that Lee is on, they do need to check on him every so often. But I'm talking about the unnecessary interruptions that aren't more important than sleep. So he got a couple little naps today. He felt good enough to go to the cafe on the 14th floor. They have the best cafe down there. Got a bit of lunch. And then we'll see how he is feeling in a little bit for dinner. He does feel better at this point than he did the last time he did this. So I think the second day of chemo, back in 2023, he was really sick, couldn't really get out of bed, couldn't move around a lot, had no energy to talk to anybody, very grumpy, which he still is a little grumpy, but that's just because he's tired. And a bit of the chemo too. He's just kind of run down, but before it was really severe fatigue. And he didn't really want to eat too much that first time. So this is better. And I hope it stays like that, or at least stays at this manageable level. His coworker did stop by earlier, one of his techs from the pharmacy. Lee is a hospital pharmacist in the main hospital here at Ohio State. But he brought over this little warmy duck with lavender, and it's just the cutest little thing. And it's weighted too, so Lee kind of feels like he has a little animal with him. He'll admit this, but he does miss Pepper a lot. He misses having the little creature with him all the time, providing that comfort. So it was a good gift. It was thoughtful. But yeah, we're going to see how Lee feels for visitors at some point. Hopefully we can get a couple of our friends over here this weekend for some brief visits. We just play that by ear. When you're like in the hospital, I think it's natural for all of your friends to be so worried about you and just miss your company and want to show face, to show support. But it's just important to take that day by day and not make any promises, because it can be pretty exhausting. I mean, me personally, I've even found it hard to respond to text messages while I'm in here, which that's kind of difficult for me anyway. So much of my brain is focused on like this big one huge task of being present, and like it's kind of taking up all my RAM. It's easy to forget those messages, but yeah, I think that's going to be different case for everybody. But they do have nice visiting areas here. So even if you are going into the hospital and your caregiver, like, or your spouse, your, whoever, if they're the one who wants to have visits, they can have visits with people and friends in multiple places in this hospital while you take a nap. So that's nice. So we'll see how that goes and take it day by day.